in the place?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if they think that far ahead.
Philip Shorey, you live almost 10,000 kilometers away, and then you come here again and again. You keep coming back, and I'm just wondering what is so special in this place that...
I've got a wife and 3 kids. Sometimes I bring them, I want to, but this is my 10th time here. To me, this is a place where you can make lifelong friends. You know, this is a place where you can explore new ideas and have hard conversations in a safe environment, and just get new ideas and new opportunities and meet people from all over the world. And I love Polish people, Polish culture.
So you got this big chance, right, to lead the orchestra. You did it in 2018, and you had like 80 people. I was one of them. And you had 80 people to work with on a piece of music for a film. And I was wondering, because in the past 100 years, there was tens of thousands of films made, and you chose one that is so old. It's from the beginning of cinematography. And I was wondering, why this one? Why not tens of thousands of others?
I mean, I just fell in love with the movie when I was young. I was in high school and I went through a little vampire phase.
Have you been a vampire for a while?
My metal stage, and just got into it. And so I watched a lot of those films, like Dracula and with Philip Glass and the Kronos Quartet. And that's what really brought me into falling in love with film and film scoring. And then when I went to university and I watched Nosferatu again, and when I saw Nosferatu at that point, it like hit me really hard, and I started to cry, and I felt this like love from the movie, and it wasn't like from the movie. I think it was just from the story, and it just really hit me hard, and I just really fell in love with the movie, and I felt something telling me like, you gotta do something with this story someday. Sometimes I've had friends come over and watch it, project it up on my house, and I'd play accordion along with the movie, and then I was watching the movie a few years back to an ensemble performing for it, and they were performing the music live, and the music was really good, but I didn't really agree with the composer's interpretation of the music. It was great music, but to me, how he interpreted it made the vampire seem like goofy and kind of comical. And by today's standards, old silent film does look kind of comical and goofy, but not in its day. In its day, like the vampire was like serious. Like this is like a symbol of total evil, consumerism, like sucking life, and totally selfish, and I felt that the vampire should be seen as this like stark evil presence, in total contrast to Ellen, this total opposite lover who is the selfless giver, healer image in the movie, and that's how I wanted to interpret it. So I felt like, man, if he can do that, like I gotta do something. And I felt something inside me say, now is the time. Okay. And so I developed a comic book called Curse of the Vampire that told the story through my interpretation, my kind of worldview, with this like good and evil, light, darkness, contrast, and then told Slot about it, and there we go.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about the whole Curse of the Vampire project, is basically that's a whole experience that is designed. Like, the concert last year, and probably the concerts that are happening, it's basically, the film, the music played live by 80 people. There is the costumes for people and for you. There's the comic book that every participant was getting. There was lights, there was different things, and then there was the message in the end that you shared, and then there was an invitation to meet and to share about live things that come out of this picture and this whole creation and all this music. And I was wondering if you feel designing an experience like this is the future of art in general, or maybe art of this type?
I mean, yes and no. I think yes, because people with the internet and media and people being exposed to many different things, you really have to catch their attention in a lot of different ways. And so you can be creative because you can cross platforms and language and collaborate with so many different people on so many different levels now. But no, because I don't think you can ever underestimate the power of simple, the power of the little idea, or the street performer, or the just the lonely guy that came up with some genius thing in his basement. You can't there's these amazing sparks of creativity that it's not just about the high production, only the well-connected.
Basically, a lot of the times, this kind of productions, they are so distant from the viewer, from the participant of the concert, and it's basically so high produced, and you have to be so well connected, all the money and blah blah blah, and then you have something that is produced in such a way, but it still has this feel that you're mentioning of a street performance that is close. Does it come this kind of attitude that you're bringing to the orchestral setting? Does it come from your street performance experience?
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. I've got 15 years experience traveling around the world doing street performance. What I love about that is the connection with the people. You're not on a stage. You're on the same plane as the audience, and sometimes the audience becomes part of the performance. And I think that's a value that, as an artist, that I've embraced, and I want to see that try to figure out how to do that with a big stage, with the closing, with the interaction with the crowd, somehow bringing that relationship together.
That's unique to have an orchestra like this, combined from different people, and to create something like this, and it's basically unique from the beginning till the end.
It is outside typical classical structure, classical orchestral culture. It is much more of an elite concept.
Exactly.
And I love the idea of bringing in people who have never had a chance to be in an orchestra, or working with people who just giving people a chance. I feel like that's my story. I was just given a chance to do this.
How do you even start writing such a thing? You're writing for 80 people. Everyone has to have his own notes, his own parts, and you're writing to a film that you cannot edit or alter or do whatever with that, and it has to fit.
It's a process, and it's a long creative process. It's dissecting, analyzing the film, coming up with what's my themes, what's my hits, what are my tempo maps, just really lots of math and numbers, and then walking in the alley. I'll just be walking around, and I'll come up with a melody in my head, and I'll just sing it on my phone so I don't forget it, figure out later what is that. Just trying different things. What's this theme sound like? And then throwing it up against the film. What does that say? Throwing it up different places. What does that say to me when it's here? What does it say there? So developing these emotional themes, character themes, and then finally, then it's time to work. And so the time in the alley, the time at the piano just jamming and coming up with these themes, that's the emotional part of it. I've watched the movie, I have it in my head, I know how it goes. But then it's okay, it's time to work. So now we start developing, okay, here's this. What are we gonna do? Perspective, coming up with, okay, which character am I speaking for through the music? There's two characters on stage, So just lots of analyzing, and then trying some things and developing. I like to work with the strings first, so developing some kind of shell with the strings, maybe a few horns and piano, and then filling that in, then filling in the rest, and then the choir later, and then fine detailing it. And I also believe that limitation is an artist's motivation in a way, because a lot of artists want to have everything to do the biggest thing, but none of us ever do, and we can be mad about it or we can get creative,
So what's the plans? What's the plans for The Curse of the Vampire in the future? Because I bet it's not a one single time performance. It's something that is going to grow and develop.
Yeah, I hope so. We did it in Minneapolis. We had 2 shows this past year. We have 3 lined up for this following year. And we have a couple shows in Germany. And we want to do something really big in 2022 when the movie turns 100 years old. And we have done it a number of times at different places. And we want to do something really big in 2022 to celebrate and honor this amazing film's 100th anniversary. Yeah.
So meanwhile, conducting this huge project, you're basically doing another one. You're traveling around with a show that fully fits into a suitcase. Tell us something about Suitcase Sideshow.
Well, yeah, the Suitcase Sideshow is a traveling toy theater marionette performance, kind of a steampunk model that comes out of a suitcase or a steamer trunk with LED lighting and its own sound system, marionettes, and it's just this street performance show that I can put in a suitcase, put on an airplane, and go where other performances can't go or won't go, or are unconventional venues. So we've traveled it all over the world. I have one of my shows is in over 10 languages, and we translate it into the language. We work with local people, and we translate it, and we work with locals to bring us into crazy places, even elderly homes on the edge of the high mountains in Kyrgyzstan. Just amazing, crazy places, and it's been a huge privilege and blessing, and I just kind of stepped out on a limb and in faith and brought it to Brazil for spring break while I was in school at university for film composition, and I brought the show into a brothel and saw a whole bunch of prostitutes and the pimps just really be touched by the story and by the show, and I felt like, man, that's what I want to do. I don't want to just play the rat race and try to make it as a composer. I really want to change the world, and maybe changing one life at a time in a small place, in a small fringe environment, maybe that's actually going to have a bigger impact than some major budget film that nobody wants to see and is forgotten about and is kind of a flop, and you maybe didn't even get paid to do it, and I just didn't want to play that game. It just didn't seem like there's a better way to impact the world.
It's interesting because as you're saying, it all comes down not necessarily to the production, the size or stuff that is going to change something, but it's the message that is behind it. And how does this transition feel when you come from one big thing to this small thing where you're so close to the participant?
It's a challenge, but no, I think it's great because I'm in the same way I'm very close to the musicians, and I want to be close to them. I want to treat them, the orchestra, not as like tools or machines, cogs in a machine, but as like people. And I feel very close to them, and then together we are able to really impact a bigger crowd that way because of so many people involved. So, and then it's just about the heart too. I mean, I think no matter what you do, if you have a heart to really connect with people, you will. But if you let this big stage get to your heart and it puts you up there and you start to feel that you're somehow deserving of that, and you'll lose connection really fast.
If you walk around in the street and you meet someone who never has been to Slot, and you've been here 10 times, you travel all over the world to come here with your whole family, what would you tell them?
I mean, it happens a lot, actually. I mean, in Minneapolis, I tell people all the time about Slot.
Yeah, you have to explain yourself.
I'm trying to tell them. They're like, why are you going to Poland? Like, yeah, like it's an amazing place. And I just tell them, like, it's in a castle, and it's like Indiana Jones, like this in ruins kind of castle. And it's just amazing to to connect with people from all over the world and have like real conversation in a safe environment, and just, you know, try new ideas and see new things. Yeah, and it's just that it'll change your life. It's hard to explain it until you actually go, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. So Slot is a life-changing experience.
I think it's been a life-changing experience for a lot of people, yeah.